Sure.
We're going. Yeah, we're
Awesome.
recording. Hey, yeah. So this is my first attempt. I was going to call this GeoGeeks at home, right?
Yeah. We're
Can't
all
do,
at home, right?
yeah,
So,
we're all at home. Can't do GeoGeeks in cars, which I actually haven't done for a couple of years now. But
I mean, I could go sit in my car if you want to. I just can't take it out anywhere.
right. Oh, yeah, that's an idea. We could do these on mobile.
Yeah, like stationary
In the
cars.
car. True, true. Yeah. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome,
Thanks.
Rob. Yeah. Rob Brook here joining me for episode 1. And it looks like his wife's in the background there. Right.
Yeah, she's going back and forth. It's the LA workspace, right? Everybody's from home. We live in a loft downtown, and there's two lofts that are back to back, so we can look across at the building, across from us. And I normally work from home, so I'm in my traditional workspace.
Yep.
But you look across, and the building is full of people who are at home. Normally, there'd be nobody there, and today you can see all kinds of couples that are working on opposite sides of their tables.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. So you're in LA.
Downtown LA,
Right?
yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's different because I know you bounce around a lot. You were in Tahoe
Still
area,
am.
right? Still. Okay.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah,
your
so my
weekend thing.
company's a half here, half there. LA is a nice central location to be able to interact with people. South Lake is a much more quiet place to be able to put your head down and get work done.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. True, true. Okay. So those of you who don't know, Rob's a fellow Canadian too, fellow Canuck, right?
how's it going, eh?
Yeah. Another hoser.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I have maple butter in my fridge. I've got a package of Tim Hortons coffee over on my shelf. You can't forget the Canadian standards.
Oh yeah, yeah. Have you got curling up on the big screen?
No, but I was in Montreal 3 weeks ago, just before the big crackdown happened here, and we were trying to figure out what was going to happen with curling. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
everything else, it seems to have paused. So
Yeah. Yep. And no, there goes Canada's shot for a gold medal at the Olympics too, right? So
yeah, I
no, it's
know.
not going. So yeah.
Yeah, I know they were the first people to say. Well, they said they wouldn't go unless it was held in 2021, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if they move it to 2021, then I think they're in, and then the Australians followed right afterwards. So
Yeah. I think it was on Saturday afternoon. I saw Haley Wickenheiser on the TV. Man, she's rocking. She
yeah,
she could be PM in my mind. I mean, that's a smart lady, and she's like the voice of. For those of you listening who don't know her, she's the face of women's hockey in Canada. She's basically the Wayne Gretzky, right?
yeah.
Of the women. And man, she just said it like, this is stupid. And you know that she probably wanted to call out the IOC as a bunch of elitist assholes, but she's like, there's no way that we're going to be going to this thing.
No, I mean, it's hard. A lot of people can't train, right? I mean, you want to go to the Olympics in top form, and how do you do that now for so many people who'd be stuck at home, right? I mean, I'm an avid mountain biker, and I'm doing Zwift right now, but I think yesterday Zwift had its maximum, highest number of people so far. There was like 22,400 people on there at the same time. And normally I'll go on and there's like 1,500. So, people are trying to
Oh,
find outlets, but it's not the same as doing your sport, right? If you're a
yeah.
sprinter or a long jumper, how are you doing that inside of your place?
Yeah. So Zwift, is that like kind of like Peloton for mountain bikers?
Zwift is an online cycling application. You get an avatar and it's connected to a smart trainer. So the trainer is controlled by the application. And I do it through Apple TV. But it's pretty much as close to actual riding as you can get and be in your house. And you can connect with people all over the world. So I ride with some people from Japan, the guy from Great Britain, some friends in Canada. And it's actually a better workout than you get on your bike normally because there's traffic, there's lights, there's all sorts of things that would stop you on your regular bike, but on here you just pedal hard. So I normally use it as a training app and then do riding outside as well, but since I can't ride outside right now, it's more of a training app.
So you're not even riding outside, like on your own?
No, the only time I go outside is take my dog for a walk.
Wow, man, that's like serious self-isolation.
Well, LA just closed all the parks. They closed all the parking at the beaches. Long Beach closed basketball courts. They closed their riding trails, their walking trails. Everything's been closed down. This last weekend, the city's been shut down. I took some pictures and put them onto Facebook the other day of what downtown LA looked like, and it was
Hmm.
like there were no vehicles during rush hour, no people anywhere, nobody was coming in on the Muni. It was just it was completely abandoned. But apparently, this last weekend was like the 4th of July at the beach. They were packed full of people. So so they've had to
Yeah.
go and close a lot of the parks and everything to keep people at home.
Yeah. Yeah. A little different here, I think. So I'm in Victoria, right, on the island. I would think kind of sealing off an island, I think, puts us at a bit of an advantage, right?
Yeah.
It's easy, no one's coming in or out.
You have an elderly
But
population though, right?
yes, yeah, a
Yeah,
lot
you'd
of
think that
senior
would be
people.
susceptible.
Yeah, yeah, and tourist town. I mean, the Clipper and the Coho, those are the ferries that come from Washington State. They were running, regularly up until last week, so steady traffic flow, and yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of cars. We're not shut down, but people are holed up, sort of.
Hmm.
So I mean, I don't really think you can do self-isolation part-time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've accepted the fact we'll be at home for another 8 to 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, not that we were part of the surge of people that went out, that were buying like 80 or 100 rolls of toilet paper, et cetera. But we bought some staple food and this kind of thing, and we're good for a while. And grocery stores are open, and the
Mm-hmm.
selection's not as good as it was, particularly with canned food and frozen food. But you can get lots of fresh produce, et cetera. So,
Oh
we're
yeah.
just trying to minimize the number of trips that we take to do that, and prescriptions are home delivered now instead of going to the pharmacy. And outside of that, it's just taking the dog out. So it's a hard thing. My wife's an ultra runner, so she's used to being able to go and run long distances, and those kinds of things are a challenge for people. But you just do the best you can. We binge watched The Outsiders yesterday, so
Yeah, yeah, a lot of binge watching for sure. I'm
yeah,
trying to uh I'm trying to cut down on the amount of news that I'm watching. I want to be informed, but it's just, I fall into that habit, and that's one of the pitfalls of working from home, right? I
yeah.
mean, I've been doing this for 15, 16 years, so it's but it's easy to just have whatever, CNN or BBC just streaming.
Yeah, I've been home for 7 or 8 now, and same sort of thing. To gravitate onto the industry side of it, something that's particularly interesting, I think, is the geospatial industry is one it can be remote very easily, right?
Hmm.
We've gone to cloud-based applications. We're not client server connected anymore. It's easy for people who do mapping, who do geoprocessing work, who do server work to all do it remotely. Um, it's easy to do implementation work remotely. In fact, we've been doing this kind of stuff for years, right? So I have a small company of my own called Hecadic Labs, and we do utility consulting work. Um, Other than a little bit of a slowdown associated with many of the utility operators moving their staff from inside of their buildings to home, I really haven't seen much of a hiccup.
Hmm.
So, I'm going to spend my day today doing a process diagram for a service that I'm trying to migrate from its existing infrastructure into a geospatial infrastructure and Esri infrastructure. And then I'll spend a little bit of time doing some web page work, but all that can be done remotely. So it hasn't really changed very much. When you think about the number of people that are out of work today, right? Like they say 50 to 70% of the service industry in Los Angeles is out of work. You go to a small town like South Lake Tahoe or something that is service driven, and the ski hills are closed, the hotels are closed, the restaurants are mostly closed except for takeout, and everybody's just hunkered down. There's such a huge chunk of the population that's greatly impacted by this. That geospatial industry, unless you're doing field collection, and even some field collection, it's classified as required services, right? Um,
Hmm.
we're semi bulletproof for this, so it's almost like we're created for this circumstance. So I guess a lot of us can thank Jack Dangerman for his idea 40 years ago, because it's resulted in our ability to keep working.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's a good point, and yeah, I've been thinking about that too. A lot of the particularly smaller companies that I know, they're all, you know, the companies that have popped up in the last 5, 6, 7 years, they're all dispersed. Everyone's working remotely in the cloud, so it's plus GeoGeeks and that especially the more techie developer types. I mean, they're pretty tech savvy, so
Yeah.
you know, and a lot of those folks, and me included, just never unplug, right? Even if they
Oh
work
yeah.
at the office, they come home and they're still, doing shit at night. And
Yeah, I mean, I work with a small network, a small group of other operators and people, right? And sometimes we have a chance to work together. Sometimes we just recommend each other for work when it's not inside of our vein, because the geospatial industry has become an incredibly complicated sort of A to Z service world, and it's hard to be a specialist in everything, right? So, particularly when you work for yourself. So, there's a network of these small people like Michael Mannion or Steve Grisey or Greg Bowles. They're all guys who are specialists in one specific area inside of there, and we're all continuing to work, right? It's been a good thing, small business or big business. My wife works for a much larger company. Same thing. They're still functioning really well. So I think it's a great call out to the people who've either started their own businesses or the ones who are running bigger ones. Companies like UDC, I think Hamid has done a fantastic job of trying to keep his staff well engaged and on pace and continuing to deliver their work. It's been a really good thing. SSP is another one that's done the same thing. It's a good call out to a lot of these companies that have I think not only have built their own organizations, but have really prepared their employees to be able to continue to work when this comes up. And that is the biggest hardship you see right now, right? So pat on the back to all those guys.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And, there's going to be some speed bumps along the way for some folks, particularly, folks that maybe this is a little newer or they haven't, spent a lot of time from home, and maybe they're fumbling, getting access to, through VPN or something to their, tunnel into their secure networks or something. And there might be some licensing issues, I was thinking, like say the Esri users. So now you got people who are, maybe in a central enterprise location. Now they're all dispersed. I would expect there would be some kind of licensing issues,
Yeah.
maybe people.
Yeah, those guys have been pretty. I mean, Esri's always been pretty good about trying to help people through these situations.
Yeah.
And I hazard a guess. I haven't had any problems myself, but I hazard a guess that if you reached out to them and said, "Hey, I need to continue doing work, but I can't because of licensing," right? That they'd figure out a way to give you a 30-day personal license to work from home to be able to do what you need to
Yep.
be able to get through that hiccup. They've been really great about those things. I mean, you see the dedication that they have to the organizations that are trying to deal with the COVID situation. I mean, I think no matter what has happened, Jack has always been one of the first people to come forward and try and assist organizations, whether that's through licensing or assistance. Or I remember when I worked there, you'd see something would happen, and you'd get chunks of technical staff that would be on site. Last year, some of their mobile people were helping PG&E through the fires that they had, and how to collect data and do it properly. And I'm pretty sure all of that was free of charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure if there were technical issues, with getting licensing to work, that they'd be one of the first people to come forward and help. The other thing about it is the social side. I think a lot of people really struggle socially to keep their head above water when this happens. And we started doing something last week, which is called virtual happy hours. Through FaceTime, I'm reaching out to friends of mine around the world and having a happy hour for an hour and having a drink or two. Unfortunately, Friday, I think, deteriorated into more than a drink or two. But it's a great way to be able to talk to people and that and to maintain those industry connections, and also take a little bit of the pressure off of being home.
Yeah, good point. People are actually going that extra effort and having more FaceTime now, ironically, right? So it's
Yep.
interesting. I missed that. We had one, I think it was Saturday night, when my wife, who's in Fort Collins, and her and some of our San Diego friends, and I was out that evening, but I piped in from my car while there. I wasn't taking part in the happy hour, but they looked like they were having a blast. So
Yeah,
cool.
it is a neat way to do it, right? I mean, you've got time. It's a great chance to reconnect with some people, either from a work perspective or from just a personal perspective.
Yep, for sure. All right. Well, hey, thanks for, you know what? We've been chatting 20 minutes. This was going to be 5. So
Well, hey,
there you
what
go.
happens when you get two Canadians together?
Yeah, for sure. I could keep chatting, but I got some things to do.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if anybody's interested in what I do, it's
Yeah.
Hecatic, HECATIC labs.com. You'll have to excuse the condition of my webpage right now. I'm just rebuilding it. So it's in the state, or rob@hecatiklabs.com. But awesome. Thanks for the opportunity, and take care of yourself, right? I hope everybody stays safe.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Rob. And thanks. This background will look familiar to a lot of people, I'm sure. But
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hope we're not doing that conference virtually this year.
Oh, that'll be fun. Can we get 20,000 on Zoom?
Oh, God. We'll have an opportunity to test the architecture.
Yep. All right. Take care. And
Yeah,
hi
thanks,
to your
same to you.
wife. All right. Bye.